there's a single most important ingredient in starting a startup, right, what would it be? And that's kind of a big question, but you've all been a part, either currently and previously. John, probably more than anybody. What's the single most, and John, you've also had a unique perspective in investing in many startups. Maybe you can, so you'll have a lot to draw from. We're going to draw from these two first, and then you cap it off. Kaylin, can you kick this off?
Single most important ingredient. Oh, that's tough. I honestly think when it comes down to it, it doesn't matter how smart you are. It doesn't matter how great the idea is. If you can't roll up your sleeves and just get stuff done, and the term grit is almost cliche, but it really is. When the rubber hits the road, when things get tough, are you going to throw in the towel and say, well, I didn't care much about it anyway? Or are you going to figure out a way to solve the problem? Are you going to figure out a way to get people in your class? Are you going to figure out a way to overcome bad reviews? I mean, all those things, you're going to encounter adversity time after time after time in a startup. And if you don't have that drive and that grit to just get stuff done and figure out problems, you're going to struggle.
When was the time in Dev Mountain where that had to happen, like early goings? And it's a unique startup because you're cash flowing early on probably in the business, but there had to be either growth pains, and maybe we could draw from Tyler and Colt too, right? But if you were to think back to a time, when was the time when you guys really had to roll it up and it was painful?
I think times are most difficult when everything looks bleak, right? Maybe you're having some bad feedback from your customers, maybe like things seem to be falling apart in this area, this thing's not working. It's usually kind of a perfect storm of stuff that's going on. And I think there's a very important quality in that moment that you need to be able to kind of calmly assess. First of all, why are we here? Why are we doing this? And what's happening right now is not why we're here, right? We can overcome this. We can get past this bad experience. We can always do better here. We can get better reviews in the future. We're going to fix this. Let's turn this into a learning experience, and let's create a positive out of this. I think that ability to not be swayed or too discouraged by the adversity is really, really important.
Brandon, thanks, Kaylin.
So the phrase that comes to mind is birds of a feather flock together. And I think surrounding yourself with like-minded people is a huge key. As we started working a lot closer with Dev Mountain and Startup Ignition, I've just noticed things in our own company have been progressing faster. We're more confident, we're smarter. And I mean, being in Provo obviously is a huge advantage because we have such an awesome startup community. You don't have to go, pay expensive rent to go live in San Francisco to start a good company. And so yeah, surrounding yourself with those people who have that hustle, they have that drive, and they have experience to draw from, that is super valuable. Not everybody has that advantage, obviously, but with the internet, there's so many sources that you can do even remotely, just getting access to people. Or you can take Startup Ignition. That's my second. Yeah. That would be the first thing I'd tell someone is just go sign up for John's class, and he'll take care of it.
So John, we've heard roll up your sleeves, kind of good old-fashioned hard work, and surrounding yourself with winning people or like-minded people. What would you add to that?
So I'm not going to touch on team. Team's really important. Now, as a venture capitalist, team's super important, right?
Yeah.
But let's talk about what they do. So Startup Ignition was started because people are not doing the right things enough, and they're doing some of the wrong things. So to me, if I had to boil it down to one thing to not make a mistake on, and that is listening to your customers. In other words, validation. There's too many people within 5 miles of where we're sitting. There are hundreds of entrepreneurs right now spending their life savings and their time on an idea where they haven't validated it with any customers, and they're staying inside their building, inside their cubicle, inside their garage, not talking to anyone, and building product and doing all this. And they're going to leave and go out and try to sell to a customer, and the customers aren't going to want it. That's a huge mistake, and that needs to be avoided. I sit here and think about the tremendous societal waste of capital and time. And if people could learn not to do that, we could save that time and capital and put them towards validated ideas, validated business models, and really grow valuable businesses and create a lot of wealth. Yep.